my name is Ryan, this is my brother Daniel, and this is Rolls in the Family. Today we are going to begin the countdown of our top board games of all time. Top 50,
That's right.
fact. We're excited about this. It's a fun video to make. We like talking about the games that we like the most. And hopefully it's interesting. You can get to know us a little bit, our gaming profile a little bit of what games we like.
Yeah, unlike the trash we've reviewed previously, these are actually the games we like.
Yeah. Hope you didn't buy any of those based on our recommendations, because this is where it's at. Yes. We also, as part of this top 50, which is going to be over 5 videos, 10 games at a time, we are going to be doing a game giveaway. There is actually a Google form link in the description below that if you follow that, it's going to have all of the details of how to enter. But the idea is that in each of these videos, each of the first 4 videos, we are going to, in this intro, give a secret word that you need to enter in that Google form. And if you submit that and enter it, you will get an entry in our drawing for one of the games out of our top 50s. You will get to look at our entire top 50s and pick a game with a reasonable limit. Again, all the details are there. So you could get up to 4 entries in this drawing if you, on each of the first 4 videos, resubmit the form with the secret word.
Man.
So, secret word for today. We're going to say that it is February, as in the month of February, because that was when we started the channel earlier this year. Our first video was posted in the month of February. Shout out to our 3 subscribers at the time that may have watched that video.
That's right. Go,
but
Mom.
if you submit the form below with secret word February, you will get an entry in our giveaway. But let's get back to the topic at hand, which is our top games. We put these together. This is something we've done in the past. I've actually done it for quite a few years now. So we have some kind of historical data that we can kind of see how things moved. We also kind of consider only games that are in our collection currently, or that we think we would consider adding to our collection that we've played a bit. That applies a little more probably to Daniel.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of games of mine that he's played quite a bit and likes and might get eventually that makes sense to include on his list. But let's jump into it and start with Daniel's number 50.
Oh boy, my number 50, kicking things off. It was shockingly is a game that did not move since last year. I was like, what are the odds of that? We don't look at our previous year's list when ranking each year, so it's funny to see how they change year to year. But is a game that I just got an expansion to, and I think is going to bolster it a lot, and that is the Isle of Cats. The Isle of Cats, I haven't played it as much as I want to. And I just, like I mentioned, I got an expansion that's going to allow it to go up to 6 players, which I think is going to be huge for it. So I'm excited to see kind of going forward how this game will kind of maybe even move in my rankings, because when it was just 4 players, it was good, but it's like, man, that's the sweet spot of gaming.
So competitive. But
6 players, I'll have to see, does it make it a lot longer or anything like that? But if it doesn't, and I don't think it will, Isle of Cats is just a really enjoyable game. If you like polyomino games, placing shapes, it's this game where you got a boat and you're placing these cats that are all unique shapes into the boat and kind of fitting them all together. It's got a kind of a funny looking theme. It's got, it's kind of an aesthetically pleasing game in terms of just the artwork and all that. But it's a game that I find strikes a nice balance between being accessible and but also having some a little bit of strategy and stuff like that. And if you like polyomino, I think that's one of the better ones that I've tried in that arena. So there you go, number 50, kicking things off.
I played that once with you a while back, long enough ago that I don't remember my exact feelings on it, but I remember liking it.
Make a strong take about it right now, Ryan.
Yeah, strong take. Isle of Cats, I prefer dogs to cats. Will not play.
Will not play.
Yeah, there you go. My number 50, let's see. It dropped 5 spots from last year. This is one of my favorite party games, but it's a party game that's very difficult to get to the table, which is usually a little bit like the opposite of what you're looking for in a party game.
Yeah.
But this is Decrypto. Decrypto is a very interesting word game where you're team versus team, and you're having to get the players on your team to guess your 4 words by giving clues. But you're trying to kind of obscure it from your opponents because you're going to have to keep cluing on the same 4 words. And if you keep giving clues that are similar, the other team is going to start figuring out which clues kind of relate to each other, and they have opportunities to crack the code. And it's this balance of you either lose because you miscommunicate with your own team twice, or you win because you intercept the other team's code 2 times. This game has a wide range of how it can go with a group. You can have this fall really, really flat. I mean, you can lose in 2 rounds. But if you have the right group, and a group especially that's maybe played it before, and, Dangle knows what I'm talking about because it's typically Dangle and some of our extended family that's played this game, that when we do it, it's such an amazing feeling of like, oh my gosh, we're going to go another round. Because you keep cluing on the same words, and it's like, how many different angles can I come up with that are going to still keep it from making it obvious? And like, you almost have this appreciation for the other team of like, man, that they're doing some clever stuff over there, because these make no sense how these are connected, and they're still getting their codes. And just, I love that the longer the game goes, it just keeps raising the stakes. Like every subsequent round is more. And
there's a great escalation.
Yeah. So if as long as the game doesn't end too early, you almost always get the game ending at a high moment. It's a lot of fun. It's like I said, it's not an easy one to teach, like with new people. It's good if you can play it a couple times, but it is one of my favorites. Like those moments, those best games are really up there with some of my favorite kind of like party game moments.
Yeah. I completely agree. Awesome. There you go, Ryan. Number 50. Here we go. Let's press on. Let's make the list. Squeaked on. Number 49 for me is a game I do not own. Ryan owns it, so I subjectively threw it on my list. A game that I actually was maybe lower on for a while, but a different game that was on our cold games we got rid of video made me appreciate this one more, and that's going to go to Escape the Curse of the Temple.
Wow. This must have moved up a bit for you, because I don't think you were...
It actually dropped 5 spots. So there you go.
Yeah. What do I know?
It's okay. I didn't know either. So
that's funny.
But anyways, I think what I realized is Escape is just perfect for what it's trying to do. It wants to give you that just jump in, real time, cooperative. We're all just chucking dice and we're moving through and we're trying to move as fast as possible. And I mean, does it win the award for best value to time? I mean, because the game takes how long is
a 10-minute soundtrack, I think. So it's like guaranteed to be
it has to be the most packed of fun 10 minutes, because there is no downtime. You immediately go and it's just go, 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 go. And I find that it's got, especially with some of the expansion stuff, it's got some really nice variability that makes it, really enjoyable to play, repeatedly and whatnot. Usually you play multiple games of it when you sit down to play, because you're like, let's go again. I'll never forget the last time I played it with you. Do you remember me?
I don't know if I do.
Me making the horrendous mistake of playing something wrong, and it like ended up losing us the entire game at the end or something like that.
I probably blocked it out of my memory.
Yeah, right. Ryan's like, get that out of here. Anyways, Escape. If you like real time cooperative and man, you're looking for something that can just fill a tiny,
kind of a stressful energy.
It does not at all overstay its welcome. It's just a perfect, delivers it, boom, Escape. There you go.
Yep, it's good stuff. Yeah, the expansions are really what has given it legs in my collection as far as lots of plays.
Agree.
I think right now you can only get the big box version. I don't even think they sell the base game. So I guess if you want it, you're probably going to get it with everything, which we recommend pretty much.
I do recommend, so
it's a lot to get at once, but very nice. I'm a fan. My number 49 is new to the list, and it's one I've only played a handful of times, so it feels like it's up in the air as far as how it's going to move in future years. We'll see. But this is the small card game Scout. And this one has definitely gotten a lot of kind of hype. I think it was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres. But it's a very clever, card game kind of in the category of very traditional card games. Think of like shedding games where you're trying to get rid of all your cards. And you have these numbered cards, but Scout has this really interesting aspect of you can only play cards that are next to each other in your hand to try to beat things. And you have to like play either bigger sets or whatever, and you're kind of making runs or sets. But when you can't beat something, or maybe you just don't want to, you can scout the previously played set to grab one of those cards and put it in your hand anywhere. And so it's this very interesting strategy of trying to like scout cards that set up your hand to have better sets. And then as you remove sets, you get kind of this like collapsing effect in your hand of cards that weren't next to each other now are. So I might have like 6s on the outside of my hand that if I can play everything in between it, now I have a set of them that are next to each other. It's just very fresh, I think, is really what has driven it up my list.
I'd agree with that.
Is just it feels very fresh and it's fun, and it's still easy to teach and just a fun dynamic. So I've had a lot of fun with the plays so far, and like having such a small footprint game like that's easy to teach. It made the list.
Yeah, well, I think for people who like, a lot of people like those just classic card games of, playing like that. So a game that can take something that's so familiar to people, but add a really just cool take on it. Really, really fun one. Yeah. Awesome. We continue forward. My number 48 moved up 14 spots. Wow. Is that big?
That's a big riser. That's pretty big.
And I can't explain why, but no, it's a terrible game. No, as it goes to a game that I don't play super often, but a game that, man, it's like when I think about it, it's like, yeah, it's a good game. And then you're playing it and you're like, wow, this is really nice. It's a 2-player, well, kind of 2-player only game. I guess there are ways to play it not 2-player, but it's going to go to Santorini. Santorini, a game that very much in the, if you like games that are head to head in terms of, and then, maybe if I could see, if you like chess or games that are very like you're trying to read the opponent's moves and then see how you can make your move. It's a game where one of the most beautiful games in terms of just as just looking at it as you play is so cool, because you have these little characters that every turn you have to move with one of them and then build a level of these buildings that look like the buildings from real life Santorini. And the goal is you're trying to get up to the top 3rd level, one of your characters, to win the game. But you can also build a cap to the top. And so that in itself is a really just interesting trying to read, you're kind of, am I ahead of the other person? Do I have high ground? And because if you're on the bottom, then you're in a very defensive mode. Whereas if you're on the top, you're trying to stay aggressive. So that's interesting in and of itself. But then they have all of these unique gods that you can use that all just have crazy game-breaking power. I mean, like, if I jump off from the 2nd level, I win the game.
Yeah.
Like, that's an example of one. And so it's like, oh my gosh, that now suddenly I'm not safe if you're just on a 2nd level. I have to build under you to try to keep it only being, or something like that. Or, I mean, they're just crazy. I think that's the coolest thing about it, is the powers are, every single one feels like, oh my gosh, that's so unfair. But everyone's like that. And it really just comes together it's so fresh, because every time you play, you use different ones. It maybe has the only downside of like, sometimes certain ones are like, do not match up well. Like one just destroys another one very consistently, just the way they match up. But that's that.
I think for us, sometimes. Like, we enjoy the gameplay of like abstract strategy games like that, but we don't want to like learn the deep strategy and like what are the opening moves. So these types of new modern abstract games that add kind of variable elements and variable powers, it's like exactly what we like. Santorini missed my list. I was just peeking. It was my 65, which is still pretty high. I do own it.
Right? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, every time my wife and I play it, it's really, really fun time. So.
Yeah, I don't think I get as many opportunities to play it as you. But it's one I'm happy to have in my collection. It's one of my favorite in that kind of category.
Agree.
So endorse your pick. I'm storing up my hate for a future pick. We'll see.
We will. I'm sure there will be some shredding of picks later.
Yeah, I mean, for context, we're likely to have quite a bit of crossover across our like top 50s, just because we have a pretty heavy influence on.
But
what
it's
games
where
we
they
play together.
land.
It's where they land, and it's not going to all be the same. We have some different tastes here.
Yeah.
My number 48 is a really hard one to compare against other ones on the list because it is a dexterity game that honestly many people wouldn't even call it a board game. But this is Clask, which is like kind of like air hockey, but you take it out and put it on the table. It's kind of this smaller thing, and you're using these magnetic pawns that you're controlling from the bottom to hit this ball around and try to score in the opponent's goal. But then there's this added layer of these magnets. They call them biscuits officially.
Oh.
Those can get
British.
hit around, and if those attach onto your pawn, if you get two of them on you, you lose the point. So it adds this kind of like if those weren't in the game, it would be like, oh, this is a fun kind of like variation on air hockey, try to score the goal. That's what makes it a game that I really love, though, those biscuits, because now there's multiple ways you can win a point. You can try to strategically hit those at your opponent. Those might end up on your side of the play area, and you got to kind of like work around them. The other player might be trying to like force you to retrieve the ball near the other biscuits. And it's very fast playing. It's a race to 6 points. You know, usually a game is like 5 minutes. And so, you know, you play again and play again and play again. And it just, for what it is in my collection, it does it perfectly.
Yeah.
And the pure fun factor when I'm playing it still powers it up this list. And while it's really hard for me to compare it to like, you know, some other Euro strategy game that I've like trying to see like, which of these do I like better? When I really think about it, it was enough for it to bump kind of into my list here, which I think it's been on my list. I'm trying to see here. It moved up 3 spots.
Wow.
So, you know, somewhat consistent.
Gotta love them biscuits. Ain't that right, Ryan?
Gotta love them biscuits. Put it on a t-shirt.
I know. Man,
Yeah,
why haven't
Clask's gotta work on
why
their,
haven't they capitalized on that
merch.
marketing?
They might have. I don't know. They have like world championships for Clask.
Really? Yeah. I haven't played it too much, but I think I'm not very good at it. What even, you know, it really brings up the question, Ryan, what even is a board game, you know?
What even is? For me, it's kind of like tabletop games. Like if you can, you know, I don't know.
Okay.
If it has an entry on Board Game Geek, that at least helps.
That is kind of the determining factor. Cool. Yeah, that's a fun one. So my number 47, I always have to remember what is next.
Yes.
47 is a game that I have had for a long time. A kind of in terms of my collection, quite a staple. And really, it's come out. There's a new 2-player version that has come out since, has gotten some fanfare. But honestly, I just love the original. I haven't played the 2-player one yet, so I can't judge it yet. But my number 47 goes to Splendor. Moved up 2 spots, and I actually got the chance to play it with my wife and her mom. We found it at a thrift store for like $5 or something, which was, I told her to buy it immediately. And we played it again, and Splendor is just such a streamlined, nice experience. It's just a nice strategy game. It's fun because it's a game where you're on your turn, you're collecting gems of these colors, and then you're using them to buy cards. But each card, whatever color it is at the top, is also a discount. Not only could it give you victory points, which is ultimately what you're racing towards, but it also gives you a discount of whatever color it is for future buying cards. So you're kind of building up an engine of discounts. And I love it because at the beginning of the game, it's a randomized setup of cards, the kind of nobles you're going for, and you're trying to look, because it is a tight race. I mean, it's a game where it's like you just are trying to be one turn ahead of everyone else in terms of hitting 15. And it's like, okay, what's the fastest path? But also, if everyone starts going like one path, that can really, it's who can maybe find the different one and stuff. I just love it. It's easy to teach. Maybe the one downside is I do feel like better players win. It's hard for new players to win like the first time. Like that really is a downside for me because if if it's a game you're not going to be playing a lot with someone, it's like, am I really going to teach them this one? And
just so I can beat up on them.
Just so I can be, maybe if I'm not feeling very good that day, I will build up my self-esteem.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, Splendor, it's a classic, just a great one. If people are just like, what's a good game that kind of gives you a taste of these modern board games? I think Splendor is definitely one up there. It's a good one to check out.
Yep. Good stuff.
Thanks.
My 47, we played very recently. I think it actually was, you had it on our last month's top.
Didn't realize Agricola was this low.
Yeah. And this is Welcome to the Moon. Yeah, Agricola missed the low start.
Just missed the low.
Welcome to the Moon, which is a kind of remake of Welcome to. It's a flip and right game trying to fill all these numbers. To try to, you have to usually keep them ascending, and there's other kind of actions that you're taking. Welcome to the Moon takes the formula and puts it through a bunch of different variations across kind of different boards in the game. And it just has such an addictive quality to it. Like, the rhythm of the game is just so nice because you're all playing simultaneously. You flip those 3 cards. It's like, which of these 3 pairs of number and action do I want to use? And then the game has this great arc of, as you're going, your board is getting more constrained. And depending on how well you've set yourself up, you might feel really constrained. And there's a little bit of push your luck. It's like you could choose to take some actions that you really want, knowing that, like, okay, I'm kind of constraining myself in this area moving forward. And the whole thing ends up playing in usually a half hour or less. I've just had a really good time with it. I had a really good time with Welcome to, when that was in my collection.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Moon has kind of replaced it. It is one of the better flip and right type of games that I've played. The core formula is just really strong, and it feels like Welcome to the Moon did such a good job of taking that strong core formula and just saying, what can we do with this in like different ways and kind of exploring it. So good stuff.
I'm curious, is there any scenario where you would recommend to someone Welcome to over Welcome to the Moon, or for you, is it like, the
only way is if you really want to go past 6 players, because Welcome to basically has no cap on max player count, whereas Welcome to the Moon is 6 unless you want to buy multiple copies of the game. Then because you really just need more of the boards and dry erase markers and stuff. But yeah, with Welcome to, I didn't love how the pacing of it often would end kind of prematurely. Somebody would reach the goals before kind of what I felt was the most fun part of the game. Still a good game, and honestly, I would still recommend. I think a lot of people would have a lot of fun with Welcome to. And I played it all of, quite a few times before I kind of decided that about it. But yeah, good stuff, and one I'd recommend a lot of people checking out. It's a pretty broadly appealing game, I think.
Yeah, that was one that made our top plays of just this last month. So there you go. Go check that out. So, but
spoiler, no reason to check it out. They know now.
Oh gosh.
Come on, Dango.
My bad.
Strategy.
My number 46 dropped 11 spots. So really just had a horrible time with it this year. No, it's a game I don't own either. It is Ryan's. But a game that I think it would actually maybe be higher if I just had more opportunities to play it. But when I've played it, very fun, and that is Roll for the Galaxy. I think I actually have a really high win percentage at this game now that I think about it.
I think that I remember that being the case early on,
which is not the case with most games. So I do remember the ones where I do,
Yes.
but very. I mean, rolling dice and the whole just collecting all the different dice and rolling them is very fun. It's there's always the Race for the Galaxy versus Roll for the Galaxy. They feel very different to me. Like they really do. I think you can. I mean, as you'll see, I think both of us. Ryan owns both. I own neither. So there you go.
Yeah. Whatever that tells you.
Whatever that tells you. But it's a really just nice game of you're collecting the dice, rolling them, manipulating them. I think is a lot of fun. And yeah, it's a game I want to, it's one of those that's like, I really like it. Do I want to, am I going to get it? I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe under the right circumstances
to the table.
But every time I've played it, it's a really, really enjoyable one. So
the core dice mechanism in that game of you roll them behind your shield, you have to like allocate them, and do you dictate a die to change one?
Yeah.
And like it's just a fun puzzle, and because it's dice, every time it's going to be a little different, and so it does have this nice addictive quality to it. It also is probably my top game. Maybe we should do this. Would be a fun top game list. Games that would be easiest to cheat in.
Oh
Roll
my
for the
gosh.
Galaxy might be number one because everything you're doing is behind the shield, and everybody just you could put anything, and everybody be like so. So only play with people you trust.
Well, and we were just saying how I have the highest win percentage at the game.
Yeah, this is suspicious now that you mention it. Huh. I don't know.
Weird correlation, Ryan.
Man.
Weird correlation.
Man. Okay. Well, now that we've got that sorted, let's see. That was your 46 here?
Yep.
My 46 is a solo-only game. And this is something that's a pretty new thing to my collection and to my gaming patterns to actually be playing some solo games.
Highest solo game on your list?
It is not the highest solo game.
Oh, wow.
But it's also something just in the board gaming world in general. Solo gaming is booming. We can probably thank COVID for that because I think a lot of people that otherwise wouldn't have tried it did. But it is so much more common now for games to include strong solo modes, like games that aren't primarily solo games. And now we're seeing more examples of these kind of big full games that are solo only. Like that kind of would have been unheard of, I think, 10 years ago, or it wouldn't have been very marketable. But this one is Under Falling Skies. And this is a pretty popular one. I think it started out as like a Board Game Geek design contest entry thing that ended up getting picked up and published. But it is just a very fascinating puzzle of basically it's Space Invaders of like the aliens ships are coming down. It's this very long board and you're trying to, destroy them before they come to the city. But it's all powered by this very interesting dice placement mechanism where I'm rolling these 5 dice, and on my little like board that's like our station, there's all these slots that I could put dice, and based on the power of the die, it'll like execute that spot. So I might put a 3 in my 3 energy, so I generate 3 energy so that I have that for others, or I might power a cannon. The big twist is that when I put a 3 in that column, all enemy ships in that column move 3 spaces. And so it's like, oh great, I got a 6. That'll do my actions more powerfully, but it's also going to make them move more quickly. And you're in complete control once you have the dice of like deciding where you want to do that. And there's a lot of opportunities to feel very clever because you can try to move those enemies to land on like spaces that they can be attacked or other things. So you can kind of manipulate it. But then you also have to place just 1 die in every column. So as you place an action, you can't take another action in that column. And so it's a very interesting puzzle. And the other twist on it is 2 of the dice are white. And if you place a white die into a slot, you re-roll all the remaining dice. And so that's very interesting because sometimes you don't want to re-roll. You're like, I like these results. Okay, well then I need to use the gray dice before I use the white die. But maybe I'm like, these are terrible. Do I use a white die right away so that I can get some new results? It's a very cool system. It's one that is packed with content. It has this whole campaign you can go through that you unlock all these new cities that have their own abilities, new boards that change up your action spaces. I mean, it's just like everything in the game has variability to it. And I could see once I'm kind of through this campaign, just playing one-off games where I just, randomize everything. But yeah, a very fun one. If you're looking for something that's very puzzly, crunchy solo experience, I can definitely recommend Under Falling Skies.
Yeah, I knew nothing about that one, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think I've really talked to you
when you said it. I was like, what? Ryan is the solo board gamer among us, so
it's good. I took it on so somebody on the channel can vouch for.
And you took kids games too, so
true. Yeah.
What
do you do?
Yes. So
this is the thumbnail for this. Daniel exposed. Cheater? Does he do anything for the channel?
Yeah, I know. This is not what I was expecting.
Well, let's see your 45. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, 45, Ryan. We got.
I'm really thanking myself for putting my reference sheet in like 0.8 font here. I'm like,
nice. Ryan pulls out his magnifying glass. So my 45, Ryan. We got a first crossover here.
Oh man!
A new game to my list, and a game that Yeah, is like I mentioned back in our top plays video, number 45 goes to Welcome to the Moon.
Look at that.
Yeah, I've only played it
Yeah,
two and a half times.
Talk about a game that would have ranked differently if we had made this list like a month
Oh
ago.
my gosh, 100.
Yeah,
It would have been much lower because
yeah,
when I first kind of played it, because we didn't even finish the game. It was like, okay, yeah, I just like Welcome to 2 better. Like this just adds weird. I mean, you said campaign. I'm like, bleh, like it just. But then when I realized that the modules just add some really nice variability to them, and they're really fun. They make you think about it in different ways. For me, it not only was like, okay, this isn't terrible, but it's also I legitimately am considering that this might be one of my. I wonder it might be my highest rolling right on here. So, yeah, that we'll see. I'm actually not sure, but we'll find out. Tune in. But
yes. You
yeah,
really got these cliffhangers down, Dango. Nice.
Yeah. Our goal is every game to have a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, you already mentioned it. Like, there's a really nice game. I mean, there are so many rolling rights, flipping rights, whatever you call them out there right now. But this for me is rises to the top in terms of what it delivers.
Yeah.
So there you go, 45
Very nice.
crossover.
My 45 is one of the biggest risers on my list. I think when I checked, it was like the third, as far as going up on my list. It's up 12 spots from last year.
Wow.
I think that makes it the third highest riser on my list. And I think it really can be attributed to, I got the new expansion for it, I think played a little part, and I think I just got some good plays. And this is Fantasy Realms. It's actually the first game we reviewed on the channel, Fantasy Realms.
Wow.
It's such a good kind of bang for your buck game of just the kind of fun decisions you get to make in a very short playing time. It's just, how do I make the best hand of 7, 8 cards? And just like, I don't know, when I'm playing it, it's just very fun to be like, okay, I could go this direction or I could go this direction. Like, is something going to come out that could go really well with this? Like, this is terrible for me right now, but do I hold on to it? Because it would only take like one card going with it that suddenly I could kind of pivot my whole strategy. It's just, if you like card combos and like, CC collectible card games or things like that, where it's like finding things that work well together, this is that in a little 20-minute filler that's very satisfying. Scoring can be a little bit of a bear. We've been using the app lately, which we're still kind of figuring out how to use it like well. We've had some little problems with it, but it definitely speeds it up. The expansion is funny because we tried once with the cursed items module and we were basically like, no, like never again. It just is not what the game needs in our opinion. It kind of draws the focus away and is kind of confusing. I tend to not be a fan of mechanisms that say you could choose to spend points to get something, because it's so hard to like evaluate when it's worth spending points, especially in a game like this where it's like you're going to score so much at the end.
It just took away from the
That said,
game.
I still recommend the expansion just for the additional cards. It adds those, what is the undead suit, that all the effects have to do with the actual leftover discard pile, which is a completely new
I've yet to go
concept.
With that strategy.
I actually, the last time I played, did a decent amount with that. And then those new outsider cards that are all just kind of like really out there abilities, it just really ups the fun factor in kind of the variety of hands you can get, which is a big appeal of the game. So Fantasy Realms makes it in. Pretty small card game. Make it in here at my 45.
I totally agree. Fantasy Realms, wonderful game. Wonderful game. Coming in at number 44 for me, long time game. You owned it, and then I think it got passed to me. It's my most damaged box, I'll tell you that. I think
I'm trying to think now.
Dropped 13, but not because of the game. It's more the other people's lack of wanting to play the game. And that goes to Seven Wonders.
Yeah.
Man, I love Seven Wonders. I really do. It is every time, and if I can get a 6-7 player game of it, it's like this delivers such a great just level of strategy, but it's not a ton. Maybe that's puts it in a tough niche. I don't know. Maybe that's why people don't want to play it as much. It's hard to find that perfect group for it. But it's one of those games I always love when a game feels like you do so much in a small amount of time. And Seven Wonders in that like 30 to 45 minutes, it feels like you do this big game of age 1, age 2, age 3. They're all building up. It's just card drafting, pick from the hand and pass. And yet there's so many good options of what you can do with your cards. You could play the card, you could build your wonder, you could discard for coins. Are you paying attention to your neighbor and trying to block? There you have a million greens, and are you going to really pass them another green?
Yeah.
Daniel might. But yeah, Seven Wonders, it's one of those that I think maybe even it's become so popular that maybe is even being forgotten about a little bit nowadays. And man, it's if for especially larger group game that I just think it takes card drafting and just does it in such a good way. And we have I have the expansions for it, which with leaders and really adds some just great. I think the expansions are really nice. So yeah, one that I wish people around me would ask to play more, because it's like in that situation, it's like we have 6 people.
Like this is a great time.
This is so great, but yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, card drafting is such a fun mechanism just in and of itself. And despite Seven Wonders being one of the first to really make a full game out of it, I still think it's one of the strongest. Like even, over 10 years later. So, yep. I agree. It's not on my list only because I've resolved at this point that I'm probably not going to own it.
Yeah.
But I am a fan of the game. Like I got to play it
I could
fairly
always
recently.
Play Seven Wonders.
Yeah, and it was a good time. Cool. My 44 is probably the most volatile entry on my whole list, in that like I have no idea where this is going to move in like the next year. Like, and it was very hard to even slot it where it's at. And that's partly because I haven't played it much. And it's new to the list. I haven't played it a lot, and it's just like I haven't yet played it in its like ideal state. And yeah, I just don't know. And that is Root. Root is a very popular game, and it's a very complex asymmetrical game that's hard to get a group that like all kind of understands it and can really play it. And the ideal case is that you would have a group that repeatedly plays it to the point where everybody kind of understands the different asymmetrical factions. Even though I'm playing the Eerie Dynasty, I know what you all are doing with your different factions and can like build that into my strategy. And that's something that you really kind of need multiple plays with the same group to get to that point. But I've had a lot of fun. Like this last time I played it, it was a good time. I just like don't know. I could see it, having that opportunity to play it more in its like ideal state. I could see it moving up into my 40s, my 30s, even my 20s as a game. It's got some amazing expansion content for it that you could get a lot of these new factions and stuff. I could also see a scenario where I play it and basically come to the conclusion of, you know what, for how complex and hard it is to teach and needing the consistent group, I actually don't think it has a place in my collection, and I end up getting rid of it. So I could see it going either way, and we'll see next year kind of where it lands.
Might be a top play. Yeah. Might be a top player, might be on the next cold list.
Games to get rid of. But as of right now, and thinking about my experiences with it, I do feel like it deserves this place on the list. It's up there on games in my collection that I want to play more so that I can like fully form my opinion on them.
I mean, that's pretty good after you've played it once.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really strong design and a really strong experience. Like, even if I get rid of it, I'm probably going to be getting rid of it saying this is a really good game. It just doesn't quite fit, what I'm wanting in my collection. But like I said, it could swing the other way. So
I do really want it. That might be the game I want to.
I think you would like it more than me. Just generally speaking, just knowing your taste in games. So yeah, we'll have to get you to play it sometime.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, my number 43 we're at now goes to a game we both own. We have played it against each other, 2-player, recently. A game that I think my highest moments of it are when we take it and run a full tournament of it, and that goes to Keyforge. Dropped 9 spots, probably just because I really don't get to play it much. Where like when I'm not, really the only scenario right now where I get to play it is if I have Word together. Keyforge is it's my favorite implementation of like kind of the just, I don't know what you would call it, card
like
game where
dueling with a deck of cards, game.
Of cards. Like I much prefer what Keyforge offers over like, oh, I gotta go collect cards. Instead, it's you get a random deck and it's a unique deck. No one else in the world has the deck combination of cards that you have. And then figuring out, how can I best use this deck? And the most fun of Keyforge we've had is when we do a Keyforge tournament where everyone comes in they've got their one deck, and so you do pool play, and we seed the tournament, and I'll never forget when I won the tournament. It was a great day.
Yeah, those are really those Keyforge days. I think we've done two of them.
We've done two
of
them.
Those are up there with just kind of like favorite gaming experiences.
Such a great experience. Yeah, and such I just love that it's such a low barrier to entry, both in price and in skill. Like one, you just to be in it, you go pick up a $6 Keyforge deck. Like they're so cheap now these days, but also in skill that. It's not like it's a game that I feel like is a low barrier to entry. You can, anyone who's fairly familiar with card games can figure it out. But what I love about those Keyforge tournaments is since you keep playing your same deck, you really do learn your deck. And so now I'm playing after like 5 or 6 games. I know I've got these cards coming, so I'm going to play this differently because I know that's going to be coming up. I think that's where Keyforge hits its sweet spot. I know there's a whole, competitive world of it, but for us, I think those fun, like competitive, but really not that
casual tournaments. It's an excuse to play a bunch of games of Keyforge for us.
I think that's its best point is the casual competitive. If you can find some people who just like that, that's really where it's at its best. So there you go, 43 Keyforge.
Very nice. I've got 8 unopened decks sitting on my shelf from the latest Kickstarter reboot, waiting to basically do a day like that. I want to organize that and have everybody pick and open them. So
there you go. Fly me in.
Hopefully soon. Well, we'll see. See if you're invited this
That's
time.
True. You don't want to. I might just win it again. Who knows?
Yeah, that's it. My 43. I'm trying to check here if it's my highest rated party game, and I think it is. And it's technically new to the list, but that's misleading because it's actually one of my most played party games of all time over the past decade. But I haven't owned it for a long time. And that had for a while been my criteria for including things on this list. But my parents, who had our parents, if you didn't know, we're brothers. We have the same parents.
Rolls in the family. It all makes sense now.
They had my old copy of it because it was getting to the table more in context where they were there. They ended up getting the new version of it, though. So I was like, well, can I have my old version back? And so I got it back. And that is Time's Up Title Recall. Now, this is a game that I hardly ever get to play because my wife doesn't like it. And the situations where I would play it are almost always my wife would be in the group. So it is a bummer. I haven't played it in the last year. In the last 5 years, I've probably only played it once, but I've played it over 30 times, I think, total. And it is just, for me, it is the best party game I've played in terms of supporting a bigger group, the dynamic around the table, the still having a feeling of skillful play. It's kind of like Catchphrase. If you've ever played Catchphrase, you're trying to get somebody to guess this thing by describing it. But then that dynamic of, okay, we're going to play a new round with the same cards that we've all just heard, but now we can only use 1-word clues. And then we're going to do a third round, and now we can't speak at all. It's all charades. It not only works so well from like I said, the skill side of it, of how many cards are we going to win, but it just consistently creates so many funny moments and just energy around the table, because inevitably there'll be something in the early rounds that somebody clued something in a very funny way, or they didn't understand something or something. And then that clue carries on, and people are basically in the later rounds using this, like, they're basically cluing it by referring back to the earlier clue.
So good.
It's so good. And I really wish I had the opportunity to play it more often, because some of my favorite big group party moments have come playing this game. So yeah, I think the title recall version is the best implementation of it. The original Time's Up's all people, which is a little harder if you don't know people. I know Monikers is also a new kind of reimagining of it. I played Monikers once, and I wasn't as big on it. It again has like a lot of like pop culture references and stuff. Time's Up title recall, I think for me, is the best, because it's just these like titles of albums, movies, and things, but you don't need to know them, like, because you're just cluing people to get the words that are in the titles. Great stuff. If you're looking for a good, kind of high energy party game, especially if you like catchphrase, definitely recommend Time's Up title recall.
Yeah, we love our party games when they deliver just laughs, and that one definitely has created, especially I think those moments where you a funny clue arises and then people run with it in the future rounds. It's a beautiful part of the game.
Yeah.
Great choice. And fun that you can include it on your list now, according to your rules.
Yeah.
I would have included it.
I guess with our new rules, I would have included it in the past.
That's true. Yeah. Our arbitrary.
I'm glad it's in my collection, even if it's just gonna sit and collect dust.
There you go. Love it. My number 42 is new, but I do not own it. You got it. And a game that is I think I'm definitely going to own. One, because it is part of a universe of games, and that is Stella.
Yes.
Which is in the
Wow, this is pretty high. This is pretty high for you.
This is very high. I've played Stella several times, and I was very unsure. I think I gave this to you, actually, I want to say. I could be completely wrong about that, but I want to say I did.
You just take credit for it. It's like Ryan probably doesn't remember.
I think I did. And I was really unsure, because it's like, okay, taking the Dixit cards and like kind of this new, everyone's and I'm sorry, Ryan, my mind's getting foggy at this point. Reminding me,
the whole why remind you why you like this game.
Why do I even like this game? Gosh dang it!
I mean, unlike Dixit, you don't have to give clues. All the cards are out there.
Yeah,
and everybody will flip a word, and that word is the clue, and then you're Xing what are all the ones that I think other people might associate, and you're incentivized to try to do a bunch of them, but you don't want to be the one that does the most, otherwise.
Right.
It's got that whole shoot the moon thing where you're going to get penalized unless you get all of them right.
Yeah. And there's, a lot of things I like about that. One thing I really like is the whole, so everyone marks what they think is, but then you got to decide what's the first word I'm going to put forward. Yeah. And can be a really tricky thing of what do I think is the most common one? Also, an amazing part of that game is the whole spark element of where just you and one other person marked it. It's just so exciting. You high five. You're because you get more points if just you and one other person do it. And so it's similar to Dixit, but it's just the way it does it. It's just a really exciting moment. I find Stella just takes it and does a really cool implementation of it with kind of that new way of thinking about the cards, of not of you're trying to think how many people would make a stretch for this card when it comes to
not
to
even
this.
How many, but will at least one
right.
There's times
exactly.
where it's somebody's gotta see this and also put it, in which case you'll get those sparks.
Yeah. So my wife loves this one. I think this one will be entering my collection at some point, especially because I love how it overlaps the cards. The cards of Stella can be used in Dixit. The cards of Dixit can be used in Stella. And so, yeah, there you go.
Very
Number
nice.
42, new one.
I agree. Stella is one of my favorite party games. It missed my list at 56, so very close to making it onto my list. But yes,
I like party games more than you, so
that might be true.
yeah.
Was that your 42?
Yep.
Let's see. 42. Another example of one that's hard to compare to other games because it's not like a traditional board game at all. But this is the big dexterity game PitchCar, which I more recently learned. I guess this is like impossible to find now. Like unless you want to pay like $2,000 to like import it from some.
Would Ryan sell it?
So
for
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm
$2,000?
like maybe I should sell it because I have all of my PitchCar stuff from back when we got it over a decade ago. Such a simple game of build a racetrack and then you're, flicking these cars around the racetrack. But it just, I mean, we like dexterity games, or I probably like dexterity games even more than you do. It's just fun. It's fun to flick a car and try to, and the game system allows for kind of amazing moments. Like you can get an amazing sling around and make it off a ramp and land it and get past somebody who is ahead of you. And when you're playing with a lot of people, that dynamic of because if you hit somebody off, you have to move back. And it just, there's certain situations where it works so perfectly to have everybody standing up around and walking around the table and taking these shots. And then the modular aspect of it that you can build these tracks and make the tracks different, which is also great depending on sometimes you want to do a little quicker game of PitchCar. Well, let's make a simpler track. Sometimes it's like, let's use all the pieces and try to make the biggest track possible. I don't get it played a lot these days, but I also don't see it ever leaving my collection because of the role it fills. And if it's going to be impossible to get, I would hate the regret if I ever decided I wanted to pick it up again.
Yeah.
So yeah, PitchCar is held, I think, pretty strong. It's been on my list for forever. It's down 3 spots from last year. It's basically consistently dropped like 3 to 4 spots every year. But that is really only because I have new games that are coming on.
Mm-hmm.
Like in a lot of ways, it's really just held as far as how I feel about it.
Yeah, I feel like PitchCar just scratches that itch that you and me have loved since being like little kids of we just love like dexterity, like kind of, I don't know. I feel like that whole just like competing in a dexterity element.
I mean, we always loved sports, obviously, and yard games. Yeah.
And in PitchCar, it's like, did you see that shot? Oh my gosh, it went and boom. And, anything that can deliver amazing moments like that is really, really cool. Didn't make my list, honestly, more so because I can't get it really. and so it's kind of like, okay, yeah, I don't get to play it much. I'm never going to be able to own it myself, but definitely a cool game. I agree.
Who knows? Good games do tend to get reprinted. So maybe someday.
Yep. Kids would love it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. We are coming to the close of this first video, number 41. Another game I do not own. Dropped 5 spots. So
do you really even try to own your favorite games?
I'm really just ranking Ryan's collection here. Yeah. So there are a lot of games I play of Ryan's that get included on this list. A game that really enjoyed the expansion, enjoyed it even more, and that's going to go to Space Base. Ooh, boy, Space Base is a fun one. It's the whole just like, I love games where it's like customizing kind of what kind of luck approach do you want to take?
Yeah.
So you could take the really like just slow and steady, and in this one, it could be like, I'm just going to those 7, 8s and 9s.
Yeah, lots of small rewards.
Lots
on
of
the
and I'm just getting a little bit. Just every time when people are going around, I'm getting my little bit. Or you know what? I'm just gonna go all in on the 2 and Snake Eyes or the 11 and 12 but what's cool is that you can, especially, I don't know if this is part of the expansion, but you can then start to like build a bunch up on like a 2 or a 3, but then start to move. There's ways you can manipulate where those rewards are. You can move them around. But a game where you're just rolling dice every time and getting stuff, but then boom, it hits. And you're just like, yes, you get so excited. I love that aspect of Space Base. It's like a positive dopamine hit. Just
I was gonna say, if you like
time.
the like unhealthy gambling addiction feeling,
this is a really healthy
great
outlet.
board game. Yeah.
Really healthy outlet.
Because it is every turn there's a roll of the dice, and it's like, what did I hit on? And then on your turns, it's like, what do I want to do to further customize my kind of custom slot machine? It's such a pure fun game that you're always involved every turn.
Yeah, and the expansion, what did it add? Those like a way to get those additional
the Shy
dice?
Pluto expansion is technically like this campaign thing you're supposed to do, but I was like,
nah.
Well, no, I'm just opening it all and putting it in the game. I don't want a campaign for Space Base. And I'm glad I did, because it's got some really fun stuff with these new like ship tokens that you can get, and then you can spend those to get these small dice. That when you get the small dice, you get to roll those on every turn that isn't your turn. And if they usually only have one side that gives you anything, but it's like, I can get these little extra bonuses on the side, and I get to just like roll dice. It's like, it's adding such a pure fun mechanism onto a game that's already built around a pure fun mechanism. We've had a lot of fun with that so far.
Yeah, it is very highly considering owning it. We'll see it, because man, just pure joy. Joy.
There you go.
Ryan, bring us home.
Yeah, I'm going to bring us home with the 41, which is our second crossover? I think we had 2 crossovers in this segment.
Wow. And
I wasn't expecting this to be as high for you. Although apparently I was just not calibrated for where it was ranked for you.
Yeah.
This is Escape the Curse of the Temple. And this is one of like the longest running entries on my list. Wow. Looking at my history back like 8 years ago, this was my number 9. That's a little too high.
Yeah.
Calm down, Ryan.
Calm down, boy.
So I was apparently pretty hot on Escape back then, but it is held for me. And honestly, the big thing this year, you mentioned, we both tried Project Elite and ended up not really loving it. Yeah. And it really reminded me of how much I love Escape, getting like a more, I don't know, just in the shorter amount of time. I love the expansion stuff with the variability. We talked about some of it already. But just every time I play it in such a short amount of time, I got such a fun social experience with the people I'm playing with. And it just, that keeps it on my list. It just, there is a real aspect of like how much time investment am I putting into the game versus how much I'm getting out of it, and like how that factors into kind of how much I like a game. And this is one that I love, the times where we sit down and play. Within 40 minutes, we play 3 games of it and mix up which of those quest tiles are in and adjust the difficulty. It's like, okay, we won that one. What if we add another 1 or 2 gems, and the suspense of it? Just a great game. I wish I could get some of the expansion content I don't have for it. There's like a couple expansion things I wish I had, that really the only way for me to get it would be to sell all my stuff and then buy the big box, which I'm like not dying to do. And I don't play it that often that it matters too much. But yeah, really fun game.
A perfect example of that. Sometimes we buy new board games not to play them, but to make us like our old ones more.
Yes. It's sometimes nice to be reminded of like why you like a game that's been in your collection for a while.
Absolutely. So there you go. Number 41 of Ryan. Escape.
Hey, if any of these games look fun to you, we've got links in the description below, and you should enter our contest because you could win any of these games if you are drawn as a lucky winner. The Google form is in the description below. There's all the details. If you follow that, you'll just need to remember the secret word February to get this video's entry. We also have got some recommended videos here. Once it's ready, we'll link the next entry on this list. So maybe check one of those out, and we'll see you in the next one.